I don't own a debit card. I've never owned one. I've never allowed my 3 sons to possess one.
You should never be using a debit card. So there are a ton of reasons why you should not use a debit card when making purchases or transactions. And I'm going to talk about 3 reasons why you should never use your debit card ever again. But the first reason why you shouldn't even carry your debit card in your wallet is because debit cards don't offer you as much protection as credit cards against fraud or just your liability in general. So for example, if someone steals your wallet, right? Let's say you have a debit card and a credit card in your wallet. And that thief uses your debit card to buy something worth $1,000 and also uses your credit card to buy something for $1,000. Your credit card is much easier to dispute claims on and resolve that within a few days. With your debit card, you might be liable for some of that payment that thief used on your debit card. So essentially with credit cards, you don't have liability. You're much more protected against theft and fraud. But with debit cards, you're a lot more liable, and it all depends on how fast you report the claim. And I have a cool chart here that kind of explains the difference between credit cards and debit cards based off fraud. And you can kind of look at that while I'm talking about the main difference at a basic level between protection on a credit card and a debit card. And generally with debit cards, you're going to want to dispute that claim or you're going to want to dispute that transaction within 2 days. If you wait longer than 2 days or even longer than 60 days, you're going to be liable for a lot of that purchase, right? Whereas with credit cards, you just dispute it, the transaction goes away and you're not liable for that fraud or theft. And once you dispute a transaction on your debit card, it generally takes at least 60 days, if not longer, to reverse that transaction. So you're going to be waiting a long time to get that money back. Whereas with a credit card, it really never left your bank account. So you're much more protected with a credit card than a debit card. It's essentially just a lot easier to get your money back from fraud or theft on a credit card than it is on a debit card, and you might even be liable for some of that money they spent on your debit card. All right, the second reason why you need to stop using your debit card or carrying it in your wallet at all is because debit cards don't really offer rewards. Credit cards do. Now, granted, when you open a credit card, you're generally opening up a checking account, and generally there's some sort of interest that you can collect from money that's in your checking account. But on average, that interest that you're collecting, or that APY off your money, is going to be 0.03%. So if you put in $100, that's going to be 3 pennies of interest collected every year. So that's pretty much nothing. With credit cards, you can get cash back or travel rewards, which is a lot better than a 0.03% APY every year. Let's just take a basic credit card like the Discover It credit card. It's a pretty easy credit card to get and apply for and be accepted for. But you can see here they have 2 to 5% cash back. So let's just say that we spend about $100 on groceries every week. So let's roughly say about $400 a month on groceries. Now with a 5% cash back, we're getting $20 of that $400 back. So really we only spent $380. So we're getting cash back that we can spend on other things, or really we're just saving money on things that we're already purchasing, already consuming. Honestly, with those 2 reasons alone, it just makes sense to not use a debit card. But I have a third reason here for you. And that is that with debit cards, you can't build your credit. Spending money on debit cards is not going to help you build your credit score at all. And so if you use a credit card, right, and this is a rule of thumb, as long as you're not spending more on your credit card than you actually have. So make sure you're paying that credit card off on time as soon as you make purchases. Don't spend more than you have. If you're already spending that money on everyday purchases, you might as well be using a credit card. Your everyday purchases might as well be bought using a credit card. It just makes sense to build your credit score. So the difference is, if I'm using a debit card on those $400 a month of groceries versus a credit card, I'm going to technically be getting cash back, spending less. I'll be building my credit score, and I have better protection on that credit card. And your credit score is important when you're trying to get a car, get a home, get a loan for those things, because you're going to be getting a much lower interest rate, thus spending less money every month on a car or a home. And that's just because you used a credit card. And that's just because you used a credit card to build your credit score. Now, watching this video, you're probably thinking like, hey, that's a pretty good deal. Why would I be using a debit card? But then you're going to see people out there like Dave Ramsey who are going to say that credit cards are evil, that they're the stupidest decision you can make. And Dave Ramsey just absolutely hates credit cards, right? And I totally get where he's coming from. And let me explain to you why I think Dave Ramsey hates credit cards. And so in his perspective, most people don't know how to control their finances. That's mostly why they're listening to his podcasts, they're learning from him, is because they don't know how to control their finances and they want to take control of it. Now with a credit card, it's very easy to spend more money than you actually have because you don't have to pay it off right away. It doesn't take the money out of your checking account or out of your paycheck directly. So it makes sense why people like Dave Ramsey are against them, because they're just very easy ways to rack up debt. But as long as you're smart about it, as long as you don't spend more than you have, and you just use it on regular purchases that you're already going to be making, credit cards make a lot more sense than debit cards. Just be a little financially disciplined, and credit cards are going to help benefit you a lot more. Adding more protection to fraud and theft, being able to get cash back and travel rewards, as well as being able to build your credit score are huge advantages to credit cards, and why you should stop using your debit card to spend money. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it so much. Please subscribe, smash the like button, and have a great rest of your day.